Hey everybody, John the Other here, obviously. Now, it has become increasingly obvious to me that men going their own way, or MGTOW, need an affirmation of some sort. Because you're good enough, you're smart enough, and doggone it, people hate your guts. So protect yourself, you stupid motherfucker. The MGTOW Affirmation. Reading as I go, obviously. Point number 1. You exist. Probably. Point number 2. You're a man, or at least you're male, and if you're good enough and useful enough, you may be granted the provisional status of being a real man. You reserve your right to challenge anyone, anywhere, at any time, that they pass off some standard male vilifying garbage such as men can stop rape, even though they will probably find your assertiveness rapey. You recognize that the apparent passivity and apparent helplessness of some women is their tool of control over you. Women's feigned helplessness is used to compel those around them into acting on their behalf. And don't think that you're invulnerable to this. You aren't, but you can be vigilant. You further recognize that your life and your safety are as worthy of protection as anyone else's. There is no moral obligation on you by virtue of your gender to dispense or to absorb violence on behalf of others. Let women fight their own battles and take responsibility for their own actions. They are, after all, equal. You recognize that definitions of a, quote, real man are self-serving and arbitrary, supplied by those who will profit from your attempt to conform to such definitions. You know that if a woman sends you mixed signals, you will coldly walk away. You demand personal accountability from women and refuse to accommodate those who would exploit you with their games. There is no obligation to explain your rejection of commonplace, publicly acceptable manipulation or abuse either, and it's not your fault that other men refuse to see it. You flatly reject all shaming tactics used by liars and statistical manipulators. You don't even pretend that such utterances are sane, respectable, or should be tolerated in polite silence, because lying about women's role in domestic violence allows it to continue. Men who fix problems do so by identifying their factual cause. You treat women like adults, not like deities, and not like children. No matter how sincere a woman may be, you do not let her into your wallet, permit her to dictate your thoughts or activities, or allow her to monopolize your time and attention. Nor do you expect her life to revolve around you. Adults are perfectly capable of entertaining themselves and paying their own bills. You are not your job. Regardless of whether you have a really cool career with high status or high pay, or if you work in an untrained minimum wage position, your job is not your identity. You are also not your possessions. Because if you follow that path, you will only be a possession to women. You know that vagina approval which turns you into a magnificent walking convenience store? You recognize that as a man, you are seen by your government and by almost all women as a disposable utility to provide labor and money. The slave role is presented as a noble thing called provider, and you've been conditioned from childhood to take pride in being reduced to a utility. However, enlightened as you are by now, you structure your life and your career to deny your utility to those who would devalue your humanity or use you for their own gain. The idea that you can be adequately compensated for this subjugation is an illusion based on self-loathing. You know that the laws do not protect you from harm or exploitation to the extent they protect women. So you will obey the law to the extent necessary to protect yourself from its enforcers, but you will otherwise follow your own ethical code. You also have no moral obligation to explain this ethical code to anyone. Your integrity is not for sale, so it really doesn't matter how many buyers you have. You will not be shamed for having human needs because you are not ruled by your desires. You are aware and vigilant against others' attempts to use your natural desires or needs for coercive purposes. Your instincts and appetites are healthy because you have learned to care for yourself, despite the shaming and abuse that is heaped upon male sexuality. Women don't have a monopoly on beauty, and yours doesn't come from a cosmetics bottle or a push-up bra. You recognize that you live in a social system in which you can be lawfully imprisoned or murdered by a woman merely because she claims to have been afraid of you. Because of these laws, you are extremely cautious about the women with whom you choose to be alone. Laws can be changed, but for now you must adapt to the reality. You don't fear the future because you are the pilot of your own life. And finally, and strangely, the most difficult part of this to make clear. You don't get married because you're not a fucking moron. This has been a MGTOW Affirmation from Community Organized Compassion and Kindness. I'm John the Other. Thank you all very much for your kind attention, and have a lovely day.